we're very fortunate to have two speakers. And Mary Ellen Munley and her son Jack Rossiter-Munley. And Mary Ellen and her husband Charlie moved to Bennington from Chicago 3 years ago. It took about 2 years to scout the Northeast region before finding that perfect spot, Bennington. And they love it here. Charlie is a poet. You will find him on the second Tuesday of each month in the back room at the Tap House, where he hosts an all-genre open mic. You can also find some of his books in the Bennington bookshop. Mary Ellen moved her museum consulting business with her to Bennington. She's been working with museums for 40 years. Her focus is on the visitor experience and the many ways that museums contribute to the lives of individuals, communities, and society. Put more simply, museums are not only buildings that house collections. Museums can be essential to our lives and communities when they connect what they have with what matters to people today. Some of the museums she works with are the Smithsonian National Museum in Natural History and the National Museum of African American History and Culture, the Denver Art Museum, the Whitney Museum of American Art, the New York State Museum, and the Shelburne Museum. She's an educator and a lifelong learner at heart, and that explains her interest in the Year of Mystery, which they are going to be talking about, and which I know you're all excited to hear. Jack Rossiter-Munley is, according to his mother, a very cool young man. He first books at about 3, and then turned to dictating a book about whales to Mary Ellen for transcription. Early education was a mixture of Montessori public school and a 5-year stretch of homeschooling, during which he took long road trips with his teacher, his dad, Charlie. He's retained an eclectic love of learning. Currently, he's enrolled as a graduate student at Columbia University School of Journalism. He's an alum of Vermont's Marlborough College, and between graduation and landing at Columbia, he's been a library assistant working in the children's section, a community habitation specialist, and a paralegal. He often helps his mom with her assignments, as he is doing today. So welcome, Mary Ellen and Jack.
It's nice to be here and to see this new part of Bennington. I haven't been to the Rotary before, and it's sort of a treat to see your gathering and your ceremonies and the ways that you help to create community. And it's no surprise that Sally has been interested in this Year of Mystery and put it together. And when you listen to a little bit about what it's about and where it's come from, I think you'll connect to your 4 ways in some really significant ways. It's as I was listening to them just now. But so, what is the Year of Mystery? Where did it come from? Why is it in Bennington? And it will be no surprise to you that the answers to these questions lead to none other than Sally Sugarman. It was 30 years ago, Sally and a colleague of hers at Bennington College, Tony Carruthers, found out that they were both Holmes, as in Sherlock Holmes, aficionados. And Sally went into action. Does that sound familiar? So they called a meeting on a cold January 6th at our local historic house, the McCullough House. Perfect setting to celebrate Sherlock Holmes' birthday, January the 6th, right? A good crowd of people showed up, and you can just picture the scene, can't you, in that parlor at McCullough House, as her colleague, Tony, who had red hair at the time, read The Red-Headed League, which is one of the Sherlock Holmes stories, right, in a British accent. Needless to say, people had a pretty good time, and they also did several toasts of wonderful beverages before the reading. And one mathematician who was in the group did a toast to Professor Moriarty, and since people were enjoying themselves in their company and their shared interest, after that, Sally and her husband Bob hosted a dinner at their house for about 2 or 3 years on January the 6th. And sure enough, as people got used to the whole thing and were really enjoying it, someone suggested that we should really form a club. And so sure enough, Sally goes into action again. She goes and gets information from another Sherlock Holmes club in Vermont, reads an article in the National Geographic about a national connection to it all, contacts them, finds out how you become a club, and then puts together the proposal so that the club here in Bennington becomes an official member of the Baker Street Irregulars, right? So when the group got together and to put together proposals, they decided to call themselves the Baker Street Breakfast Club. Now you know Baker Street is the famous address, right? Breakfast Club because breakfast is the most frequently mentioned meal in the Sherlock Holmes canon. And since they planned on meeting in the evenings at night, they thought it was properly irregular to call themselves the Baker Street Breakfast Club. And the title sort of gives you a sense of the sort of playfulness that there is in the spirit of this group. I can tell you, my husband and I have been part of it now for almost a year, on and off. And we're not Sherlock Holmes aficionados particularly, but the group of people is really kind of cool. And the fun spirit of the toasts and people coming together over good food and then doing some jokes and just having fun. And then there are some people who are just unbelievably into Sherlock Holmes. And it's amazing what they do on the thing. But that was 1990. And so nearly 30 years later, on a warm August night, in one of the club members' homes here last summer, Sally was again calling the Baker Street Breakfast Club to order and doing toasts and readings, and she announced that 2020 was going to be the 30th anniversary of the club. And she says in her inimitable way, "We really should do something," she says. And so here we are today, ready to launch what we call Bennington's Year of Mystery in January 2020. And the idea is kind of simple. A group of these enthusiasts who've been coming together for a number of years around things that they find interesting and sharing with one another, have decided to celebrate their 30th anniversary by bringing some of their fascination and their passion and some of the things that they know and the network that they have around mysteries here to a broader community in Bennington. And Jack's going to say a little bit about why mystery. It's not about just Sherlock Holmes.
So, in creating a year of mystery, that is the central question. There's this group that's celebrating their anniversary, but why bring it out into the community? And what is unique about mystery that can be brought to Bennington and North Bennington? And for me, the answer is simple. It's that mysteries have a unique connective power. The best-selling novelist in history is Agatha Christie. She also wrote the longest-running play. And I'm sure all of us, whether we love mysteries or not, can name a slew of book series and movies and TV shows that present mysteries to all ages. From Nancy Drew and the Hardy Boys to Mary Higgins Clark, Columbo, Jessica Fletcher, even down at Bennington Cinema right now, the biggest movie in the world, Star Wars, has a mystery at its heart. And in fact, the director talks about his entire ethos of filmmaking as being built around a mystery box. And so, the enduring popularity of mysteries, combined with their unique allure, means that they can bring something to this community. The most common type of mystery, and you can tell from the people I named that we spend the most time with, that Sherlock Holmes stories are built around, is the detective story. And there's something great about the detective story that I think will have particular resonance in 2020. which is that you have a world that is uncertain and out of order. And then your central detective figure comes in and by the end brings everyone into a drawing room or some other setting because you have to get creative after the first 10 or 15 books and puts the world back in order for you. And some of what I think we love about mysteries and part of why they are so good in their various series is that we can return to them and get that same sense of adventure, but it's always met with a little bit of comfort. And so I think that in putting together this year of mystery, there are programs for all ages, there are programs of all kinds, and what all of them can bring to Bennington and North Bennington is that same ability to connect and that same sense of just a little bit of comfort in a year that is full of all kinds of uncertainty.
So thanks, Jack. And so, when you take the topic of mysteries, it can kind of go in a lot of different directions, and that's what the programming is doing. And there's kind of more than meets the eye to this year of mystery than, what you would find on the cover of a paperback. The year of mystery has turned out to be a number of things. First of all, it's a community project, which must resonate with all of you, I think. This is not being done by one group. It was an idea that came from the Baker Street Breakfast Club. But there are now, a dozen or more community organizations, businesses, and cultural organizations involved in programming for the Year of Mystery. It's being co-planned by the North Bennington Library and the Bennington Public Library, the Free Library. So they're working together collaboratively on this. And in addition to that, there are going to be programs that are going to be taking place with the Bennington Community Theatre, at the Left Bank, at the Bennington Museum, at the Bennington Center for the Performing Arts, also known as the Home of Old Castle. We're all getting used to that new name. The Historical Society. The Chamber has kicked in terms of helping to promote and market this. The Bennington Arts Council has, and the list of the collaborators is still kind of growing as people are starting to find out about it. It's been a remarkable coming together around a central idea. And so it's showcasing a lot of Bennington's organizations and talent, because many of the people within the club and others in some of these other community organizations are coming forward to produce their plays, to do lectures and talks, to put together exhibitions. All of that is going to be sort of front and center under this umbrella. As I was putting these remarks together, what it was reminding me of, I think, a little bit of the club itself, what you guys do here, I think, at the Rotary, and then what you hope would sort of happen a little bit more broadly around a theme like this. Is, remember that book a couple of years ago by Robert Florida about bowling alone? Where people don't get together so much as used to be and find themselves sort of out there and lonely, and this notion of, these organizations coming together and not being one-offs doing their things, coming together around something, and perhaps, maybe there'll be conversations all over the place, or little whatevers that'll pop up around mystery and conversations about mystery or sharing stories, and that would be a dream, of course, if that's part of what happened with these. But the other thing that has happened is that the profile of Bennington has sort of gotten raised in the Vermont Humanities Council, because what a small group out of the club did, led by Sally, and with great effort from Jenny Rosicki. Is there a relative?
Why?
Oh, husband.
Yes.
Is that all? Hi, Mr. Rosicki. Well, Jenny is, as many of you know, like a marvel. And she stepped up right away because we thought we should get some grant money to support some of these projects, right? And the promotion of it. And so we thought about going for a grant to the Vermont Humanities Council. And a group like the Breakfast Club isn't eligible for grants, but the library is. And so the library, Debbie is serving as the project manager, and the North Bennington Library is the fiscal agent. And a group of us got together, wrote a grant, and got it. Got a grant of $4,000, which, as it turns out, is one of the largest grants awarded by the Humanities Council in the last 10 years.
Wow.
Yeah. Most of the grants are in the order of $1,500 to $2,500 max. And there have only been 2 grants in the last 10 years to Bennington. Both went to McCullough House for an oral history project and for an exhibition. So with the Year of Mystery, we're sort of getting recognized on the level of who else gets the $4,000, and there have been 2 $5,000 grants, which is the maximum that you can get. And so we're sort of in the same level in terms of community programming around the humanities with Brattleboro and its literary festival, with the New England Film Festival, with Poem City in Montpelier, and other community-wide projects in towns like Woodstock, Burlington, Putney, White River Junction. And it's really kind of delightful to have the work of Bennington being recognized in this way. The other thing that we hope will be really important, and Jack alluded to this, about the Year of Mystery, is that it's purposefully multi-generational. And with a really special focus on engaging children in reading and in being continually fascinated by the world around them and getting it and having a desire and means for exploring it. We discovered that when we were talking about this among the club members, that many of the club members attribute their love of reading, and then as by extension, history and some other topics, to reading mysteries as children. I'm curious if that's true of any of you.
Yeah.
Have any of you remember reading mysteries when you were young? Let's hear them.
Nancy Drew, Book of the Month Club.
Yeah.
Party Boys.
Yeah,
Party Boys, definitely.
I'm a plant, Sherlock Holmes.
Yes. All right.
Jack and Jill
Jack and Jill.
magazine had mysteries in it.
Okay. The magazine, yeah. And Kathy?
Bobbsey Twins.
The Bobbsey Twins, yeah. So it is kind of a bit of a connective tissue among us. This sort of love for mysteries and this sort of take it from children, all the way up through the ages. Have any of you read a particularly good mystery lately?
Have any of you read a particular mystery?
Huh?
Nope.
Hearing whispers. Well, maybe in the Year of Mystery. We can all read, keep a list of our mysteries. But it's not only about reading, though that's a big part of the programming. You'll see there's a lot of other stuff going on too. Because the mystery theme sets the stage for some conversations and creativity and fun and, discovering different talents that people have and ways that they can share them. And one of the members of our club, for instance, is really good at writing limericks. And one of the things that's just kind of fun is when John manages to come to a meeting, and that afternoon he's written like 2 or 3 limericks that relate to the story that we've all read for that night. And it's really kind of a joy and to sort of get you in the spirit of mysteries and the fun that we can have with them. Jack has a few limericks for us today. Let's see how we do.
This is the test portion that you didn't know was coming. All right. Based on the reading material that some of you admitted to, this is the first one. Traveling Bayport in Chet's Jalopy, busy with cases they never partied. Finding clues with their chums, they were Fenton's sons, the boys, Frank and Joe Hardy. Yes. All right. Excellent. Well done. A+. With Sergeant Hastings in tow, there's nothing this Belgian didn't know. He solved the case of that mess on the Oriental Express, our mustachioed hero.
Poirot.
Yes. And the last one, hopefully the easiest of them all. The undoubtable queen of mystery, her name will go down in history. She once disappeared and everyone feared for the fate of... Excellent, well done. Well, okay, one more. Last one, promise.
Extra credit.
I can't not because of why we're here. His cases, mostly short stories, not tomes. His behavior elicited groans. Solving crimes with Watson, lots of trouble they got in. That Baker Street sleuth.
Sherlock Holmes.
Thank you very much.
Very good. So, we hope that with this whole 12 months of programming and the varieties that are in it, people will have some fun, have some things to share. It is kind of nice to know that there are some things that we've all read and that we all recognize. Here's sort of the way that you can be a part of, and what would be really terrific from you with the Year of Mystery, because you are obviously community leaders. You know what's going on. People turn to you. You make things happen. And the planning is pretty much done. There's a whole slew of programs ranging from lectures to films to plays to book groups to fun games at the library. We have a 12-month schedule of programming, and the press releases and the schedules are going to be released in about a week. There's a little check that the Humanities Council has to do on things before they can be released, but they'll be released in the next couple of days. And the planning and the promotion for something like this is really only the foundation. We all know that it's word of mouth. And we all know that it's when people whom you know and like and trust participate in something that you get involved too. And so, to the extent that this will become more community-wide and that it'll kind of like sing in the community, is really going to be helped by you and the people you know talking about it, participating, doing whatever comes to your mind. Going to some of the programs. If you find even in your work or the other kinds of things you do that are part of your life, that there is a tie-in promotion or an idea that you might connect to mystery in some way, by all means go for it. The more that's out there, the more that this thing will kind of resonate. So officially, it's on January the 12th, which is a Sunday, right here, with a breakfast celebration brunch, right, for Sherlock, and a set of kind of fun activities, adult and kid activities, sort of like, sharing the limericks, or people doing readings with experts, or who knows, but it's sort of some different surprises of ways to just sort of kick this thing off. There's going to be a posting of the events for each quarter. So we're not going to do the whole list of everything for the whole year. So the first one that you'll see is going to be for January, February, and March. Okay. And during that time, you're going to see things like this I Spy Live at the McCullough Library, where young people and adults will have the opportunity to search a miniature version of Holmes's study. They're also going to wrap mystery novels in brown paper bags and put them on display. And so you can check out a book, check out a mystery, despite not knowing what's under the cover, right? And maybe you'll find a new author. Maybe you'll find something that you love. Maybe you'll find something that is not to your taste, and you will return it quickly. There will be a play by the Community Theatre at produced at Elm Castle. There are going to be films at the, let me get my special, at the Left Bank on February the 7th, for instance. There's going to be Murder in the Vermont Woods. It's going to be it's a humanities presentation from the Humanities Council. The Bennington Theatre is going to be doing its production on February 21st and 22nd. When we get into March, there's going to be a film series at the Bennington Free Library on Sunday afternoons at 2 o'clock. In March, there's going to be a course. March and April, Sally Sugarman is doing a course that'll take place at Old Castle Theater, and it's going to be about mystery plays. She's entitled the course, "The Play is the Thing," and it should be really a blast. In May, there will be a Where's Watson activity that will be part of Mayfest, for instance. There's going to be the history of, Sally's also doing a talk about the history of mysteries. There's going to be a talk about early female mystery writers. There are going to be, there's going to be mysteries to solve at the library. And there is going to be a series of talks about the mysteries of American culture. Some talks about how race, class, and gender play out over time across some of the mysteries, and some of which are sort of near and dear to all of us. So I think you get a little bit of a flavor for this. There'll also be some things that are just going to happen all the time during the year so that you can get people engaged with. There are 2 Sherlock Holmes backpacks at the public library, at the Bennington Library. Those were a gift some years ago from the Breakfast Club. And it includes books for young readers, DVDs, some puzzles, games, and you can check them out and take them home and just sort of have a good time with them. And there are also the summer reading program will be connected to mysteries, so you can sort of see those things going on throughout the year. So there's going to be a radio play at the Park House. Again, great setting for it. There's going to be a Victorian tea in the spring. So there is just a whole host of things, and we hope that you will be looking for them, that you'll participate, and that you will bring others to it as well. And if you have any questions or ideas, we're open. Susan?
As things evolve, as members in the community and organizations get word of this, there's always time, like you're updating every quarter. Mm-hmm. Like if people have an idea, like, whoa, I want to do this in March, we can pop it in for the...
That's right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is awfully exciting.
Yeah.
As part of the Bennington Historical Society, a few years ago, I made a presentation called Bennington's Missing Persons.
I'd love you to do it again, Ted.
Do it again, it might cost me a girlfriend, so I don't know if I want to do it again. But anyhow, I have a lot of reference materials and the program. Maybe I will do it again. Anyhow.
We'll talk.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
I did a lot of research on it, and with newspapers and stuff like that, so, maybe we can talk.
See, that's exactly burlesque. Yeah.
Who's handling the publicity? I mean, is it the chamber? Who's chairing that? Like coordinating with Cat TV and the television stations down there? And this is a great thing for the Today Show when they do a They do a summer reading program. They do a summer reading block during, why not talk about what's going on up here? We should start bugging them now.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We welcome all hands on deck, as they say. Right now it's a small group of 4 of us who have been meeting, off and on, sometimes every week, sometimes every month, depending on what needed to get done. And promotion is what we're working on now, of course. And there is a sort of media list, so you can expect to find it in things like the Banner and the Cat TV, and the Chamber is going to do it, and the Front Porch. you know, and all those kinds of things that you would imagine are,
And there's going to be a Facebook page, The Year of Mystery,
yeah.
where you can find out
I want us to
everything.
reach out.
Well,
I'm sorry.
no,
I
that's,
get excited, I'm sorry. Come on.
Get excited.
well, and that's where, you know,
It's all right.
maybe that's where we can bring an idea like that to the chamber, or we can bring it to the Bennington Arts Council and see if they can help with that kind of thing, because that's part of what they do, right? They're advocates for Bennington and for the arts. Pardon?
I say, well, Kathy and I were just talking, if you get it on a network, like the Today Show, something outside of here, let's get outside here. We can go to the Times Union and blah, 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 blah. We gotta get it out there.
We'll do our best. No guarantees, obviously, when you're working with the press, but I mean, have press releases can send, you know.
I know.
That kind
I
of.
used to other nerds.
Yeah. And of course, now, you know, Jack is down at the Columbia School of Journalism, so like, he's gonna get it all over. Other thoughts or questions? Comments? All right?
Yeah.
Well, welcome to the Year of Mystery.
Thank you.